This podcast is sponsored by Lightens. Lightens, your best source for OE quality automotive and heavy-duty accessory drive tensioning devices. We know tensioners because we invented them.
Bill, good morning. Welcome to AMN Drivetime.
Bill, a pleasure to be here. I hope you and the team are all well.
We're doing great. How about everybody at your end?
Good. Thankfully, everyone's healthy. Everyone is well. Thank you very much.
Terrific. So, Bill, it's been my pleasure to know you for a very long time, perhaps my entire career in the aftermarket. We spoke earlier, we're the exact same age. For the benefit of our listeners, walk us through your career in the aftermarket. And I think I've known you for most of your stops.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if we have time for all that, Bill,
okay.
But certainly, I am a veteran of the industry, as we say. Someone took a chance on me when I just graduated from college by the name of Peggy Shuden. She hired me as a Napa territory representative for Wix. So that was my first job, going out in upstate New York, calling on the Napa jobbers out of the Napa Syracuse, DC, from Canada to northeastern Pennsylvania. Gave me a great perspective on the dairy farmers. I used to do fleet surveys, and really gave me a good foundation, for the sales and integrating within the aftermarket itself. I then switched to Tenneco Automotive in the same role, selling mufflers and shocks to the same Napa jobbers, and did that for 10 years. And as a result of that, I did thousands of shock and strut clinics in Mansfield, Pennsylvania, and Canton, New York. So it really gave me a very good perspective in terms of, the service providers that work in our industry, the jobbers that work in our industry, and really gave me a good understanding of the independence of those folks and really their dedication to our industry. I took a job as a product manager subsequently with Tenneco, went inside, was shocked to learn that people worked after 2 o'clock on a Friday in corporate America. So the transition from the field to corporate was an eye-opener. But I learned such a tremendous amount in that role by pricing, product management, and taking on new product lines. Jay Burkhart took a big chance on me coming inside, and I was the liaison between Napa and Tenneco Automotive. So it gave me great experience calling on them. I then went to Fleet Pride as their first director of marketing, where I had the opportunity to integrate 23 independent heavy-duty warehouse distributors under this one national brand. And it was really a tremendous marketing experience for me, Bill. I went to Dorman subsequent to that as their vice president of marketing, really developed and worked with Richard and Steven to elevate the Dorman brand. When I started, it was R&B Inc. And then we transitioned to Dorman, which was a very well-known brand in the aftermarket, created their tagline, new since 1918. And just to see their progress over the years has been tremendous. I then went to Scheffler as their VP of North America, where I really transitioned Scheffler from a co-man environment to selling product to the distributors directly. Great opportunity. Quality was first and foremost, and just working with another culture was really fascinating for me and helpful for me as well. Then I went to AASA as their senior VP, which really gave me a great taste of the association world. Bill Long was such a great mentor for me, integrating me into that fold. And it really, it really unleashed my love for the market in terms of what we do, and really became a staunch advocate for the aftermarket. And then was fortunate enough to be chosen as the Auto Care president and CEO, which has been a joy ever since.
It's quite a journey, Bill.
Right? No kidding. Many people would say I can't keep a job, but you know what? It has been a great career for me, and just very rewarding.
Terrific. So you've clearly traveled far and wide in your life in the aftermarket and in the supplier side, and now with Auto Care. Any particular favorite memories from your travels or shows that stick out as especially poignant?
Well, going back to my days with Wix and on the road in upstate New York, I'll never forget pulling into the Dansville truck stop at 2:00 in the morning in the middle of a lake effect snowstorm and being charged $1 deposit for my towels. And, just life on the road. My career has always been on the road. And that's where I really feel most comfortable is meeting with our members and learning about our industry and helping our industry. The camaraderie when you're on the road, there's nothing like it. You build relationships that you have for a lifetime. I'm still dear friends with the other representatives that I worked with, in Napa, Syracuse. In one particular instance, I remember, and I had no reason doing this, but when I was with Tenneco, you had to build exhaust racks. And my dad kept his tools in a Charlie chip can. So needless to say, my technical expertise in terms of building exhaust racks was zero. So it's 95 degrees out. We built these exhaust racks in Napa Bainbridge in an old grain elevator. So we finally get done with all this and we hang up the pipes, and then you hear the groan out of the building and everything collapses. So, just experiences like that really teach you how to survive, how to make do. And so those are some, road experiences. But certainly, the highlight of my career in terms of being on the road and highlights was the opportunity to meet and speak with President George W. Bush. It was an amazing experience. He was the guest speaker at Apex in 2019. A great individual, funny, and gave everybody a great perspective to the industry. So that was really probably my career highlight. And I thought to myself, Bill, I'm like, oh my gosh, here's this guy from Napa, Syracuse, and sitting across from a former president of the United States. And I just felt so incredibly blessed with what the industry has provided for me and the family.
Bill, throughout your career, were there any flashpoints, game-changing moments that strike you?
You know what, Bill, I gave this question considerable thought. And I don't know whether it has been like a specific game changer or not. But for me, it's been more moderate progress in terms of I'm an observer. And for me, like personally, the way that I approach it is I really try to look and listen and learn from what's going on around me. And I have learned from great leaders, and I've learned from not so great leaders. And I think that that's kind of important, that you can learn from any type of different situation or from any different individual to say, hey, look, they handled this really well. Or you know what? If I was in charge, I may have done some things differently. I always try to take into account the effect that our actions have on the membership, the effect that my actions have on our staff, and really take that into consideration. And I've always been the type, Bill, I raise my hand. We were talking earlier, I'm a leadoff hitter, I'm a second baseman, I'm a scrapper. And I always have been my entire life. I don't know, it's because of my vertical challenge or whatever the case might be, but I've always raised my hand. And I've always not been afraid of a challenge. And where other people would say, I don't want any part of it, I'm like, hey, you know what? Give me a shot. And what's the worst that you can do? It's a dog right now. Maybe you can elevate it. Or if it's a dog, it's a dog. But I dig in and I look for those opportunities and challenges where I think that I can make a difference or my team can make a difference. So that's kind of been my approach. It's not been a significant light bulb moment, but it's been those continual observations throughout my career that I think have helped me become a better leader and realistically a better person to boot.
A lot of base hits, right, Bill? Base hit after
Absolutely.
base hit after base hit.
Yep. That's right. I'm a 300 hitter. I'm not swinging for the fences. I grind it out.
Yep.
And put the wins on the board, and that's what's most important.
So, Bill, the Auto Care Association, as we all know, plays a critical role as an advocate for our industry. You play a lot of roles, but that's an important role. Mm-hmm. It's probably not been more clear when the industry was designated as essential during the lockdown. And that was early on in the lockdown, too.
Right.
Tell us what goes into making that or something like that happen.
And I think that my answer is going to surprise a lot of people. That was not something that was an immediate get. We had to lay the foundation for that years in advance. And the way that we had done that, our government affairs team, our members, is that they created a relationship with their local representative, their local congressperson, so that at least that elected official would understand the importance of our industry going forward. So what people may not know is that groundwork was laid well in advance. And that's not to say that a lot of work didn't go in beginning on March 12th of 2020 to really shake up those Congress people and those local legislators to say, we need your help. If you help us, we are going to help the entire community be able to transport people, transport goods, and have people that are essential be able to go back and forth to their work environment.
Bill, sticking on the baseball theme, it might be fair to say that felt like a home run, getting designated as such, and it probably was. But there was a lot of singles hit before that home run was able to happen.
Yeah, we certainly put the runners on base in order for that cleanup hitter to be able to come in, get it done, and get the industry declared as essential. I don't want a right to repair to be seen as a single either. That was a home run in Massachusetts. So we won the vote by 75% of the voters. And that, again, entailed a lot of pre-work on our part to get the voters of Massachusetts prepared for this and to vote in our favor. So a lot of groundwork goes into these decisions, and people see, oh, well, we won right to repair, but that was a 3-year process, or we won essential workers. That was an ongoing process, and we have to continue that process. We have to continue to put people on base.
Terrific. So, Bill, I know you're a big proponent of grassroots advocacy, of course. As we undergo a generational shift in the automotive aftermarket, what are you seeing in terms of engagement from today's up-and-coming industry leaders?
I am seeing that us industry veterans can use YANG, the Young Auto Care Networking Group, as an example of how to be involved. Every one of the YANG board members are contributors to the Auto Care ACPAC. They're engaged. They hold legislative summits on their own. This is a very engaged group of young men and women. And I think that we could use them as an example for all of us to get involved. And that's my message is, we come to work every day, Bill, right? And we worry about Babcox Publishing. We worry about the Auto Care Association. we worry about my shop or we worry about my warehouse. But what we all have to worry about is the viability of our industry, and we need to get involved in that. And the next generation really is an example of getting it done. So I'm very proud of the work that they've done.
And in terms of the latest news, not the latest news, it's been the news for several months, is what are your thoughts on what is happening with the supply chain and chip shortages? And what do you think is the impact on the aftermarket?
That is the conversation du jour, and it is a major issue for our entire industry. And what people may or may not understand is that we are a global community. We are a global supply chain, and nothing has reinforced that more now with the current shipping shortages, the chip shortages, and we have to work together much better between distributor, retailer, manufacturer to work through those supply chain issues as a whole. This has got to be a partnership in terms of the way that it's approached. We as an association have an international trade committee that's working hard. Between MEMA and AutoCare, we have someone that's appointed to the Federal Maritime Commission to be able to have a voice within that body to be able to communicate our concerns up through the proper channels on the federal side. So it's a significant issue. We can't specifically do anything about the cost of containers, but what we can do is advocate for our industry on Capitol Hill and through the ports to ensure that they understand the effect of what's happening on American consumers. So again, I think the collaboration is really important on this, and to be able for distributors and retailers to look at diversified supply chains, right? And it's been a fascinating outcome of COVID, and it not only affects our industry, but many, many other industries as well.
Do you see some light at the end of the tunnel on this topic?
Not particularly light. There's a glimmer. From what I understand, there's still a 2-month turnaround in the ports. For those that source product from other countries, those other countries are getting back in terms of their production. So it's going to be a haul, Bill, and it's going to take at least a year for this to be able to settle out, I would think.
Another topic that's getting a lot of airtime in recent weeks and months, maybe more than in the past, is the whole EV topic. I'd be curious what your thoughts are related to EV and specifically how it relates to the aftermarket.
So, Bill, you remember this. So when electronic fuel injection replaced the carburetor, we were told that our industry was done, right? They're gonna weld the hood shut. You're never going to be able to get under the hood. Well, guess what? The industry not only survived, we thrived, and we will continue to thrive regardless of the technological advances that are coming from Detroit or from around the globe. So that is a very positive thing. And not only that, but we many times improve upon the process. We find failure-prone parts. We make them better. So the EV thing, right now, the entire VIO is about 4.5% of mix between plug-in hybrid, and battery electric. We've all heard the news that EV is going to be the only option by 2035, which gives us a good ramp, right, to adjust, to make those adjustments. I've seen a shop owner who is a very good member of Women in Auto Care. Her shop does nothing but replace hybrid batteries and has made an outstanding business doing that. So we adjust. but we have that ramp up time to be able to do so. So I don't want to release too much too soon, but I do want to let everybody know that we are collaborating with AASA on a EV study that we're going to release at Apex that shows what the vehicle in operation is going to look like in 2025, 2035, 2040. And guess what? With the average age of the vehicle now being 12.1 years, we still have a tremendous opportunity with the internal combustion engine, and that's going to be around for a long, long time. There's a lot of work to be done on the EV side in terms of infrastructure. Obviously, charging stations are critical to be able to get this done. So we have to plan for the inevitable, but we also have to look at the reality to say that, this internal combustion engine is going to be well within the VIO through 2050, and the next generation should not be afraid of our industry. As a matter of fact, it really gives our industry a good opportunity to advance.
Bill, in a few weeks, we are going to be all getting together in Las Vegas. Would love to hear your thoughts on that, with everything going on with the virus, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep. So first and foremost, Apex and AWDA is a go. We are holding it live. For those of you that saw the announcement, we are requiring a proof of vaccination or a negative PCR test prior to the show. It will be, we're working on the process right now where you'll be able to upload that information, show it once, and then gain admittance to the show. But Bill, life's got to go on. And we know that we're going to be living with COVID for a period of time. We have to ensure that we are taking the best safety protocols that we know at a given time. And that's back to my previous comment. We know what we know right now. And what we know right now is that, in order to provide the safest environment that we can, those are two methods that we can do that. We understand our international folks won't be there. And this gives an opportunity really for those that are exhibiting and are at the show to really highlight their products, right? So it's an interesting path that we're taking, and the show is on.
Bill, you mentioned it earlier in our conversation. You talked about right to repair. You just touched on it a little bit. Would you mind updating the audience on where we are today in 2021?
Absolutely. And, Bill, the headlines on November 4th of 2020 were we won the ballot question in Massachusetts by 75%. Well, the next day, we reached out to the Alliance of Automotive Innovation, which is the Automakers Association, to say, let's get together and figure out the implementation plan. We were met with a lawsuit. So the automakers sued the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to say that the law was null and void for many different reasons, which I won't go into. So we actually had to go to trial. Massachusetts had to go to trial because they were the defendants in the case. And we provided material witnesses to be able to support our stance in Massachusetts. The judge is due to make a ruling on September 20th. And what he is ruling on is a very narrow perspective to say, is the law as written able to be enacted? Right? So is the model year 2022 achievable? And this is what the automakers are pushing back. We had tried to talk to the automakers for 5 years. The minute I walked in the door, we tried to engage the automakers in dialogue about how can we make this work. You cannot neglect the fact that 70% of the repairs are done within our channel. You can't neglect that. In turn, we're being stonewalled and slow walked on this whole process. So we are awaiting the decision by the judge that's coming down September 20th. We're also working in conjunction with MEMA and with the Car Coalition to sponsor a federal bill called the Repair Act that we are hoping will be a national blanket for right to repair. Everybody has seen in the news, the agricultural community is in the same predicament. You've got a John Deere combine that's down in the field that's ready to harvest, and the farmer can't work on that vehicle because they have to call the John Deere dealership, who may have a 2-week backlog. So what happens? The crops are rotting in the field. Same thing with your cell phone. Why can't an independent shop repair that cell phone? So there was an executive order by President Biden that works with the Federal Trade Commission. So we're also working in conjunction with them to elevate our voice in that whole conversation. The fight's not done. And that goes back to my earlier point about grassroots. We need everybody to be engaged in this fight. And we need everybody, whether you're a shop owner, whether you are a distributor, a jobber, or a supplier. You need to get engaged in this process. And people need to know our industry. And we saw the results of that with the essential services, right? So it does work. The automakers spend $38 million on lobbying. I can't get into what we spend, but I'm telling you right now, it's not $38 million. They have 269 lobbyists. We have 5. So it's back to my whole singles leadoff hitter, Bill. We may be outspent, but we're scrappy, we're tough, we work together, and we as an industry really need to get people on bases in order to be able to get this done once and for all.
Thanks for all you're doing there to pull everybody together, Bill. Critical issue for our business.
It sure is. Yeah. Thank you, Bill.
Bill, thank you so much for being our guest on AMN Drive Time. It's been wonderful to be together, and look forward to seeing you live and in person, hopefully very soon.
Hopefully and at Apex. So I appreciate the time to say hi to the crew, and I genuinely appreciate what you and your team do for the industry too, Bill. So thank you.
Thank you.
This podcast is sponsored by Lightens. Lightens, your best source for OE quality automotive and heavy-duty accessory drive tensioning devices. We know tensioners because we invented them.